Hi everybody, Robert Spina here today, and I want to talk with you today about the Robert Spina book collection, focusing kind of on Spina Comes Home. And I wanted to talk about my book collection, how I got started. And when I got started, I had nothing. I still have nothing. But that's not totally true. I now have 8 self-published books, which I'm very proud of. But when I started, I had this idea. I wanted to make a movie, and I had this character in my mind that I was envisioning, and I was watching the movie in my head, and I just want to bring this character to the big screen. Can I get it done? Can I make it happen? So I actually started writing the story, and I wrote it out on pen and paper. Here it is. This is Spina Comes Home, the first book I ever wrote. It's probably a little very difficult to see, but every page, handwritten. I wrote it in two different pads of paper. Every page, top to bottom. Well, I only did it on one side, but all handwritten. I wrote the story out, and then I said, well, there's got to be picture boards and a reference so that if we can ever make the movie, we can see how it's done. So I actually drew the whole story out. Very difficult to see, but every one of these pages in 2 of these books, I drew the whole story out. This book and this book, all hand drawn with just a pencil. I'm not a good drawer. I just did the best I could to bring the imagery out, so if we see it, people would have an idea what to go for. I have another book with all the characters, with all my notes, another book fully written, and so I wrote that all out, got it all done, and then I started searching on the internet. I went to New York City, I talked with people in Rochester, and as I was doing all that, I said, well, I wrote one book, and when I wrote that, I wasn't thinking I'm an author, I'm going to write books and make novels and things like that. I just started writing it. So Spina Comes Home, when I wrote it, is kind of like a movie script, screenplay book. This is the only book that I wrote where there's no chapters in this book. I just started writing this story right at the beginning, and I just wrote the story right through to the end, like me watching the movie in my head. Very, very cool stuff. Gray Spina is actually born in the 1700s, and he's just going out to hunt one morning. He's, like a 17, 18-year-old boy. He's going to hunt deer for food for the family, and a predator is hunting him. And the predator is about to take him for a trophy. When the predator is attacked by an alien, Gray saves the predator from the alien, and the predator gets hurt very badly. So the predator names the human his successor to hunt the worlds, to hunt the creatures on different worlds and things. So they take Gray into space, and there's a big to-do with the crew on the Basting Clo, which is the ship, which don't really like this idea at all, but they take the human to Otsavian, a world where the predators are, and they talk with the leaders, and the leaders say, hey, this little human, this little runt, what's he going to do? He's not even going to pass the 3 rights of the hunter. So they say if he passes the rights of the hunter, then Geisen, you can be his mentor. Geisen is the predator that was going to kill him and ultimately was saved by him and names him his predecessor. So So the human gets put in an arena with aliens. He gets to pick some weapons, and it's sink or swim. Now all the predators gather. They all think this poor little human's just gonna get, killed quickly. And to their surprise, he survives the first right. Wow. He then survives the second right, and he survives the third right. So he gets to become a predator. So Geisen becomes Gray's mentor, take him through space, and he gets to learn about the weaponry and the armor, and he becomes a predator, a human predator. Now the predators don't let, they name him Gregan the Little Warrior. They don't let Gregan out much, but when they do let him out, he excels. He does very well. And finally the time comes where Earth is invaded by aliens, and the leader of the Basting Club, Tysalon, says, let's let the human lead his first mission. So they send Gregan down to Earth all alone to eliminate the threat. Well, they have no idea how vast, how widespread this threat has become. There is a species that I created and I put in this book called the Boncli. The Boncli are from a different world, and they feed exclusively on aliens. The traditional aliens that we're aware of. Very, very cool species. I drew them out in the books that I draw. They are super, super cool. They're not really a threat to humans. They don't really predate humans. They predate exclusively on aliens. Well, Gregan gets to the world and pandemonium ensues. You've got the aliens on the world. You've got the Boncli. You've got Gregan. Now people start coming up missing, so the military sends 5 special units to the Adirondack Mountains to investigate, to see what's going on. So you've got this incredibly high-powered clash where you've got different alien species coming together, you got military units coming together, and you got Gregan right in the middle of it. It is such a cool story, such a cool book. It's going to be a fantastic movie, and I keep working hard to get this movie done. Super, super cool stuff. You can check it out at robertspinabooks.com, but it is very, very cool. Now, when I was writing Spina Comes Home and trying to get out there, nobody would give me the time of day. Nobody still is giving me the time of day. I just keep trying, I keep working hard. So I said, well, I wrote Spina Comes Home. Why don't I actually try to write a book? And so I started writing 1 Second Can Change Your Life, which is actually the first book that I published right here. 1 Second Can Change Your Life, and that is more of a book form. But as you can see, I've got notebooks full, page after page after page, where I wrote this all out by hand. A great, great story. And I had a definite idea in this book. I wanted to write a tragedy, and through the tragedy, the most beautiful love story you will ever read is told. So I did that. It's a wonderful book. It's a tearjerker, but you're gonna love it. The characters are just absolutely, you're gonna identify with them, you're gonna relate with them, it's just a great story. So I wrote this, and when I was writing this book, I went to Rochester and I met with Nora Brown, who is the Finger Lakes Film Association executive director. And she said, Robert, you know, you work hard, you got a lot of really neat stuff and ideas, but it's very difficult trying to do what you do. What you got to do is you got to publish the books, get the copyrights. That way, if anybody wants to make the movies, they got to come talk to you. Ding! So I did it. I published these 2 books, and I started thinking, well, I want to write something epic, absolutely epic, lots of magic, lots of creatures, monsters, and I'm right in the middle of it. How do I write a story that is the movie that I want to make, putting myself in the scenarios that I want to be in, being able to kind of have the love that I've always, you know, dreamt of having, and I'm thrown into this situation where all kinds of things are going on around me, and somehow I'm the center of it all. I'm sure we all dream of making movies, and all of our visions are different. That's wonderful, that's beautiful. That's the way it should be. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take on just an epic challenge, and I'm going to write the Vegan Rage books. So I started writing Vegan Rage. Here it is. As you can see, it's very, very deep with a lot of stuff going on. These are all notes. I started writing all of this out by hand. And as I was writing this, I had published my first 2 books. My mom came to my rescue. My mom got me a laptop, so I was able to start writing on a computer, which was a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. So now, many years later, I have Spina Comes Home, 1 Second Can Change Your Life, The Infected Man, Robin Crystal, An Unlikely Love That Will Save the World, Evan Morrister, The Assassin's Son, And of course, the big ones. Vegan Rage, the Magic User. Vegan Rage, Dragon Reclaim. And Vegan Rage, Demon Rising. The Vegan Rage series is absolutely epic. There's going to be at least 2 more books in the series. And it is just the type of books where you start reading, you just fall into them. Let them take you away. It is absolutely magical warfare at its best. Great imagination with monsters that I have just created from my imagination. The design of them, how they move, how they act, what their functions are. Different races, elves, dwarves, humans, humanoids, magic users, dragons, cool characters, cool storylines, things, such imagination, twists and turns that make you say, how did he think of that? And I try to do that with all of my books. I've had people say to me, Robert, you know, I like the synopsis you put on the back of your books, but you're giving too much away. You tell too much. Trust me when I tell you, my books have so much in there. You're reading my books, and the next thing you know, you're taken into something that you weren't expecting. And you're like, where am I? But, oh my God, it fits. It makes sense. It's how did he think of that? That is so good. How did he think of that? That was wonderful. So I've been working on my books. I've been putting them out. I've got 8 published books. My 9th book's done. It's done. I'm well into my 10th book. And you learn, you grow, you get better. From the very first book that I wrote by hand, the first couple books, these, I go back and I read them, and, you know, it's not that they're written bad. They're written great, but when you start somewhere, you only get better as you work at it. And I have listened to what people say. I have taken what they say, but everybody says the same thing. Rob, you know, your books are good. The stories are great. I love your characters. I get into them, but you got to fix this. You got to fix that. So I keep working hard. I keep trying my best to get better and better and better. And now, writing my 10th book, I can look back and see how I have evolved and grown as a writer. It's a beautiful thing. Nobody can take that from me. You just keep working hard. You keep trying. You keep doing the best you can. You keep getting out there. My stories are solid. The characters are wonderful. So if you love to read and you love to watch authors and see where they start and where are they going, then with the Robert Spina book collection, the first book I actually wrote, Spina Comes Home. The second one I wrote, 1 Second Can Change Your Life. Then I wrote Vegan Rage, the Magic User. Vegan Rage, Dragon Reclaim. The Infected Man, and then the last 3 books that I put out where my writing is just starting to, from a technical point of view, from, you know, you can ask 10 people to write a sentence describing a pillow. You're going to get 10 different sentences, and you can critique them all. But they all may say the same thing, just using different words. How do you use your words? How do you kind of condense your words so you can say something with this many words, but you can say the same thing using this many words? And that's what I've been learning and trying to do, to take out the words that don't necessarily need to be there. It's not that they hurt anything, you're just adding. So it makes the story flow better. It makes the story read faster. It keeps people moving, which is a beautiful thing. So I keep working hard, I keep trying, I keep evolving and getting better at my craft. The ultimate goal is to get my books made into movies. I hope you all check out robertspinabooks.com. Thank you for sharing a few minutes with me. You all have a wonderful holiday weekend. Thank you.